Let's take a second and rethink education, reimagine education, reframe what it means to receive a quality education. Did you have one? Do your children? Do your sisters? Do your brothers? Do your friends? How do we move past filling kids' heads with facts and figures alone? Have you ever thought, what would it look like? What could it be if we just started over? Education is so much more than stuffing things in your head, and so much more than erasing identity, and so much more than a test. How do I know this? It's because it's my education story. For too long, I believed being a good student and an active learner meant getting an A. It meant denying the feeling in the pit of my stomach when a teacher introduced the next book and not one character looked like me or had an experience like mine. I thought it meant being quiet and taking the information I was given without questioning, but this just isn't it. I know now that does not create the change makers of tomorrow, because the true purpose of education is to open the hearts and minds of ourselves and the hearts and minds of others. Knowing this is just a part of how my organization, Black on Black Education, was born. You can check back for part 2. But today, in this part, we are going to talk about my deep-rooted belief in the words of the late, great Whitney Houston. I won't do her song justice if I tried to sit here and sing it to you, but I'll tell you exactly what she said. She said, "I believe that children are our future. Tell them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside." The beauty they possess inside. Are we doing that? Is the education system doing that? Is the way that we teach and learn helping us understand the beauty we possess inside? We may be doing this for some, but we need to be doing it everywhere. I'm a Black woman. That's the beauty I possess inside and out. And there is no avoiding that. Hence, the Black on Black education part. I'm committed to being in service of Black students in the way I wish somebody was in service of me. My identity is a huge reason I'm here talking to you today about this very issue. Those questions we talked about at the very beginning, Black students and parents and teachers and activists have been asking themselves those same questions for centuries. How do we educate our youth and our people? How do we pass on our legacy? How do we make the world a better place for our people? These questions were asked, and this was happening in slave quarters when it was illegal for Black people to learn to read, and again during the Reconstruction era. And it happened on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, before it burned, taking with it massive amounts of Black wealth. It happened with Ruby Bridges and the Little Rock Nine, and again after thousands of Black teachers lost their jobs when schools were integrated 66 years ago after Brown versus Board of Education. And still, we are asking these questions in 2019 when I stood in the middle of Times Square, one of the most heavily populated places in the world, screaming at the top of my lungs with hundreds of other people to fight for active integration in New York City public schools. We are not done. We are fighting for school funding and desegregation and culturally responsive education, and honestly for even simpler things like textbooks and recess and digital learning tools and sports teams, the things people in white middle class communities and neighborhoods don't think twice about having. How can we expect children to be prepared for the future when they don't even have the tools to do so? The weight of this burden has weighed down the progress of our communities, and no longer can it be the job of Black teachers, students, and parents and activists alone. We must be all of our jobs. It must be all of our jobs. We must hold ourselves accountable because we fail to remember that when the most marginalized in our communities and our societies do better, we all do. We must decide to teach as a form of activism. I've taken that charge. Will you? At Black on Black Education, we have stood in a long tradition of creating a community to fix a problem that for too long has been us as Black peoples alone. We are carrying a burden of a sin we did not commit, and for hundreds of years, we've done it without question, and frankly, we will continue to do so. But right now, in this time of uncertainty and change and anger and fear, we ask that you take a stand and actively support a community that has supported itself through a painful existence. We are not all pain. We are much, much more than that, and we ask you to stand with us in understanding it. Because if we really believe the future can be a better place, we must invest in creating it. It won't happen on its own. We must decide that the creativity running through the veins of young Black boys and girls is valuable and help them foster it. We have to learn to unleash the power of our ancestors and the boundless potential of a people with a history of oppression. We will not stop. Those Black teachers and students and activists who have been asking these questions for centuries, we will not stop. And we will continue to lead the charge forward to change the trajectory of our nation and the world. And to all those who come to me and come to us as a collective and ask, what can I do? I tell you, follow in that tradition. Keep asking those questions. Keep asking yourself those questions and stand in solidarity with us. Thank you.